Welcome to Section 2.2, Part 1. This is the 12th session of the ISACA CISA exam prep series. In this session, we'll cover how technology gets governed at the top. We'll work through several questions. What is corporate governance, and where does technology fit? How do you separate governing from managing? Why has governing technology become so important? What part does audit play in it? How does security governance work? And how does strategy and data feed the plan? Why does this matter beyond the exam? Because these structures decide whether technology serves the business. Picture a fast-growing retailer betting big on new systems. Without governance, those bets drift from the strategy. Money gets spent, but value never shows up. Strong governance keeps the spending pointed at real goals. That alignment is what you will be asked to assess. So what is corporate governance, and where does technology fit? Corporate governance is the system that directs and controls a business. It links management, the board, owners, and other stakeholders. The board carries ultimate responsibility for it. The aim is trust, transparency, and accountability. Governing technology is one piece of that larger system. It is the structures and processes that keep technology supporting the strategy. Think of it as the steering and oversight for everything digital. How does governing technology actually work? Every stakeholder gets a voice in the big decisions. The board and senior leaders own this stewardship. They manage technology resources on behalf of everyone with a stake. The purpose is to keep technology aligned with business goals. Technology should deliver promised benefits and open new opportunities. You should use resources wisely and keep risk in check. Three processes make this real. Managing resources with a current inventory and risk handling. Measuring performance so value shows up and risk surfaces early. And managing compliance with legal and contract obligations. How do you separate governing from managing? They sound similar, but they are different jobs. Governance evaluates needs and sets direction. It decides priorities and then monitors against them. Management handles the daily work of planning, building, and running things. It executes inside the direction the governing body set. Picture a ship. Governance chooses the destination and watches the heading. Management runs the engine room to get you there. At its heart, governing technology is about two things. 1. That technology delivers value to the business. 2. That technology risk is managed. Value comes from alignment. Risk control comes from baking accountability into the enterprise. Why has governing technology become so important? Several pressures pushed it up the agenda. Boards now demand a real return on technology spending. That spending keeps climbing, so people watch it closely. Regulators expect controls over privacy and financial reporting. Outsourcing and cloud deals need careful oversight. Control frameworks help monitor and improve critical activities. Standard approaches cut cost compared to building from scratch, and businesses want to benchmark against trusted peers. So leaders evaluate, direct, and monitor on a continuous loop. They watch performance, the controls, and external requirements. What part does audit play in all this? Audit is uniquely placed to strengthen governance. It offers leading practice advice to senior leaders. It monitors compliance with the initiatives in place. Because it stays independent, its view stays balanced. This work reaches the very top and crosses department lines. So a charter must grant audit freedom to move through the enterprise. The term should fix the scope, the reporting line, and the right of access. That access extends to outside service providers too. If the team lacks the right skills, bring in an independent third party. So how are these governance roles arranged? A common pattern uses 3 lines. The first line is operational management. They own the controls and run the daily reviews. The second line is risk management. They independently judge known and emerging risk. They partner with the first line, but never overrule it. The third line is internal audit. They set their own scope and provide independent assurance. They report straight to the oversight body. Think of a factory. Line workers run the machines and catch faults. A safety team checks the risks. And an independent inspector reports to the owners. How does information security governance fit in? It is a slice of corporate governance focused on security. It sets direction for protecting information and managing security risk. Management must build a framework to guide a full security program. That framework has a few core parts. A strategy tied directly to business goals. Policies that cover strategy, controls, and regulation. Standards under each policy, with procedures and guidelines below. A security structure free of conflicts of interest. And monitoring built in to confirm it all works. Who is on the hook for security at the top? The board and the chief executive are accountable. The chief executive answers to the board and drives it through the team. Tone at the top is everything here. Staff will not follow rules that leaders ignore. The people who approve security policy should span many functions. That mix keeps any single priority from dominating, and effective governance produces clear outcomes. Alignment with the business, managed risk, compliance, and value delivered. Those outcomes rest on measuring performance and managing resources. They also rest on integrating security processes instead of leaving them in silos. So how does strategy fit into governing technology? Information systems now sit at the center of survival and growth. Leaders can no longer leave strategy to functional managers alone. The dependence is too deep and the threats too real. So strategy for these systems becomes part of governance itself. It gives reasonable assurance that goals will be met, and it turns technology into a source of competitive edge. What does good strategic planning involve? It maps the long-term direction for using technology. Top management owns it, and it must match enterprise goals. A steering committee and a strategy committee help shape it. How often should you plan? The old habit was every 3 to 5 years, but fast-moving industries need to revisit far more often. Some adopt an agile approach with shorter horizons. Good planning weighs new system needs against capacity to deliver. It reviews the existing portfolio for fit, cost, and risk. It balances maintaining old systems against funding new ones. And here is a red flag to watch. If technology leaders never help shape the business strategy, the plans will drift apart. Where does data fit into setting strategy? You cannot plan well without organized data. Business intelligence turns raw data into insight for decisions. It helps spot trends and patterns you would otherwise miss. It deepens understanding of customer behavior. It measures performance against the targets that matter. And it leads to better, evidence-based choices. But insight needs a foundation underneath it. That foundation is a deliberate data architecture. It moves data from raw sources into a central warehouse. A staging layer cleans and checks quality before loading. Smaller data marts then serve specific business units. And a metadata layer records what each piece of data means. Aim for the most granular data you can keep. Detail you summarize away is detail you can never analyze later. So let's bring it together. Corporate governance directs the business, and technology governance is part of it. Governing sets direction, while managing executes it. The whole point is value delivered and risk managed. Audit and the 3 lines keep the structure honest. Security governance protects information from the top down, and strategy, fed by good data, keeps technology aimed at the goals. In Part 2, we turn to the people and structures that carry this out. The MCQs covering all the topics and concepts from this session are available on RooCloud.com. Practice the chapter-specific MCQs before moving on to the next session. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or feedback, post a comment below or email us. I will see you in the next session.